Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Aqua Magazine webinar, Automate to Dominate, Real-World Advice from Pool Pros. I'm Scott Webb, Editor-in-Chief of Aqua Magazine, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. Today's session is focused on real-world application of technology. We're here to talk about how automation is actually being used to help pool professionals work more efficiently, reduce callbacks, and run stronger businesses. It is part one of a two-part series. We'll do part two next month. Today, we're going to focus on practical clarity, how to think about automation choices and how they fit into real workflows. In April, we'll be back with a follow-up session focused on the future of pool automation, including a live expert roundtable and Q&A. I wanted to note that you can submit questions at any time using the Q&A feature, which you see on your screen. And today's session will be available on demand after the live event. And we'll, if we don't get to all the questions that are submitted, we can answer those individually. Joining us today is Rodney McCall, a longtime friend of mine from the industry. He is the automation product line leader at Pentair Pool. Rodney brings hands-on experience across service, construction, and product development. We're also joined by two working pool pros, Jacob Fladhammer, who will share a residential builder's perspective, and Dustin Anderson, owner of Precision Aquatics, who will speak from a service and commercial operations standpoint. We're going to kick things off with Rodney. Rodney, let's get started by talking about automation. It's not just about adding features to a pool pad, is it? It's a business tool.
It is. And I'll kick it off, Scott, by talking a little bit about how to choose the right automation, and which can be a little bit confusing if you're not familiar. I like to simplify it by asking three questions. How complex is the pool? How do you want to run your business after the install? And what experience do you want the homeowner to have long term? So let's kick it off with pool complexity. If this is a simple pool, single body of water, just a couple of things to control, IntelliFlow 3 with onboard automation can be a great fit. IntelliFlow 3 is Pentair's swimming pool pump, but every one of the IntelliFlow 3 sold today also includes a relay card that has two relays on it. So it gives you basic automation right at the pump. It has one 16 amp high current relay and one low current 5 amp relay. It connects directly to the homeowner's Wi-Fi so they can control their equipment from their phone. IF3 install is pretty straightforward, and the relay card that's now in every IntelliFlow, it's a great choice when simplicity is the goal. As pools get more complex, or if you wish to give your customers a higher level of control, uh, additional features, let's say heaters, salt systems, you've got water features, spas, that's where you need to move up to IntelliCenter. It is designed to pretty much handle any level of pool complexity and gives you much more flexibility both at install and after the pool is turned over, which we'll talk about. You can choose the IntelliCenter model based on how many relays you wish to control. So relays are just something that turns on and off. And we have a system that has 5 relays, 8 relays, or 10 relays. And whether you're dealing with a single body of water or a pool spa combo or a dual body of water, you'll need to know that when you're choosing your automation system. And And some bundles include a salt chlorine generator. So we have the bundles with and without. Also, if you have more than 10 relays, you can add an expansion panel. Um, that's about it. I will say we also have two separate enclosures. One we call IntelliCenter Lite, and the other IntelliCenter. IntelliCenter Lite does not have built-in breakers, and it's often referred to in our industry as a power center. An IntelliCenter has space for breakers, so everything gets wired in one place and is referred to as a load center. So that's pretty much it for you know the basics on how to choose the right system. The second question that I'll speak to is how do you want to run your business after the install is complete? So IntelliFlow 3 offers a nice provisioning flow in the Pentair Pro app that allows you to invite the homeowner to control their pump through the Pentair Pool app after you finish the install and the programming. And then it gives you the ability to monitor that customer's system after the installation. So right from your office desk, you can log into that person's pump, the IntelliFlow 3, and see exactly what it's doing. So it's very helpful for callbacks. IntelliCenter also allows for remote access through the IntelliCenter Remote Monitoring web app. So with IntelliCenter Remote Monitoring, you're not just logging into one pool at a time. You can see all of the pools you manage on one screen. Then you click into an individual system if you see that any of those systems have a notification or an alarm. And that flexibility and insight can completely change the builder and customer experience and even relationship after the pool is built and during the handoff, which is very important to that new pool owner. Most callbacks from new pool owners aren't caused by necessarily bad equipment. They're caused by questions, schedules that don't match the homeowner's preferences, features not running when expected, or simple, how do I do this type moments. So remote access through remote monitoring allows you to solve many of those issues right from your office. Um, that leads to the third question. What experience do you want the homeowner to have? The first few weeks after a startup of a pool are really critical. This is a brand new pool owner who may not fully understand how their system works yet. Automation, especially when paired with remote monitoring, allows you to offer the white glove handoff experience. You're available to help. You can see what they're seeing, and you can make adjustments quickly so their pool behaves the way that they expect. And when it comes to service, monitoring isn't just about watching pools, it's showing up prepared. What I mean by that, the difference between a 20-minute fix and a wasted trip out to a job site is knowing what you're walking into. For instance, if a heater isn't firing, for example, you can check flow rate, you can check pump operation, system status before you leave the office. It could be that they just need to clean their filter. That's why their heater's not firing. And that level of insight can change how efficiently your service teams operate. Automation also lets you simplify things for the homeowner. So that homeowner experience of being able to, you've built a beautiful pool, you've got features, lights, and you can create with groups a particular look. So with one button, maybe you name the button party mode, which turns on lights, water features, and other equipment all at once. You can set up dramatic lighting scenes for customers, which are tuned into a particular flow rate have a water feature or however you want to do that. We call those groups in IntelliCenter, and those groups really keep pool operation intuitive and easy for the homeowner. Um, all of those automation options that I've talked about uh, are connected. IntelliFlow 3 connects directly to the homeowner's Wi-Fi. IntelliCenter Lite includes a Wi-Fi bridge. And IntelliCenter systems use Pentair's exclusive high-powered wireless, which is designed for backyards where the standard Wi-Fi just doesn't reliably reach the equipment pad. I know some of the builders probably have struggled to get Wi-Fi out to the pad, especially when distance or the construction materials of the home are challenges. The high-powered wireless is a huge advantage uh, and is something unique to Pentair that makes sure you're getting the signal from the router or inside the house out to the equipment pad. One last point on saving time. IntelliCenter supports repeatable setups. And what do I mean by that? If you're building a similar pool and wiring them fairly consistently, once you finish programming, you can export that system configuration to a thumb drive and then take it to the next job and put that thumb drive in the IntelliCenter and basically uh, export that from the thumb drive into the IntelliCenter or in it, import it into the IntelliCenter, and all the programming from that last job is there. So you kind of start from a baseline, and then you can customize it from there. And that consistency can save time on the installation and also help reduce mistakes. So those are some of my time-saving tips, Scott, and really how to choose the right automation system for the job. And so I'm really excited to hear more from the pros about maybe how they're doing it as well.
Real quick, I just wanted to ask, what job signals might push you towards the IntelliCenter versus like something simpler?
Yeah, I so pool spa combos, as a rule, you're always gonna move up to IntelliCenter because you're moving valves. Simple pools, and I will say simple pools are great for IF3, but some builders would prefer to bring in the IntelliCenter just for that extra amount of control and features, even on your simpler body of waters.
Okay. What sort of misconceptions do you hear sometimes about the complexity of setting this up?
I don't know if Jacob or Dustin has any commentary on maybe what they run into. From a job perspective, I have the luxury of calling an engineer if I don't understand something, and hopefully, our tech service is also something they use if they run into an issue.
Well, Jacob, what do you think?
For complexities and misunderstandings on that, I mean, Rodney hit it on the nose. I mean, the tech service is key for when you get trained for the first time, especially. Um, but I think, like you said, I mean, all of me and all my techs carry a thumb drive on all my keychains that have software revisions, and then we also have a display unit here in our office to where we can actually see the equipment that's going on that job and change out daughter cards and pre-program everything that goes out in the field before the tech even goes there to save everybody time. Because especially when it's 110 degrees here in Phoenix, Arizona, you don't want to be sitting at a panel for 20 minutes to program it.
Dustin, you got any thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, being prepared. I mean, I think that automation can be intimidating to somebody who may have not sold it in the past, or we have a lot of, really old systems here that are either not equipped with automation or have old automation systems, and so people are a little intimidated by it. But the IntelliCenter is extremely user friendly, and I mean, if you just invest a little bit of time, I mean, like we have a live panel that we use here at our headquarters to help train our staff and myself, and if anyone has an hour to invest in just understanding the basic programming and menu on these systems, I mean, it is not a hard system to program. And then after that, just programming is one thing, but just the user-friendly aspect of this controller for the end user, for the customer, is, I think, the best there is. So yeah, just that little bit of time in training, and then people are, I think, a little intimidated because it does look touch screen, and it can be it looks a little fancy, but it really is a very user-friendly system.
As we talk about the homeowners and communicating with them, a product like this, Jacob, how do you communicate that value to homeowners for an automation system like this?
So the value in automation systems, for both automation systems, so doing just the pump as well as the IntelliCenter, I mean, automation seems to be the new standard in everything that we do in our lives. So it seems like no matter what someone buys on a consumer level, I mean, an air conditioner, I mean, everything, a light switch in your house, everything's automated now or on the internet. So the easiest sell is also, like, you don't have to manually turn on your equipment anymore. You don't have to go out in the dark. You don't have to turn on flips and switches and have a pool light. But like a good sell for us too, to explain that the ease of use is, like, imagine if a storm comes in. This works for both the IntelliCenter and just the onboard pump app, that if a storm comes in, you can turn it on remotely. That's huge here in Arizona. We get, I think they call them haboobs. It's nasty, and they come at any time of the day, and it's nice to have you can just turn your pool on and get it cleaning. For IntelliCenters, explaining to them full schedule control of every piece of equipment. So not just a pump, you can schedule everything that you want to schedule. I have customers that schedule heaters that turn on every single day from 6 to 10 for their hot tub. So every day when they get home, they can walk right into their hot tub. Also the full diagnostics. I mean, explaining to a customer that when we do roll it over to either them or a service professional, that it can enable notifications. It can let them know, or the pool professional know, like when something's not working properly. And, like, I mean, even it does it with your IntelliChem, to where if your pH is high, time to add acid. So there's a lot of technology that we can sell on this application and IntelliCenters that a lot of customers love. There's a lot to it, which is fantastic.
Moving forward with the process, what steps have helped you reduce post-installation issues and follow-up visits?
Post-installation issues is making sure that everything is online and the customer's understanding of what is working in the app. So it's pretty much also giving myself control of their app as well. Hang on, I just lost my page. Sorry. So making sure their newest software is up to date, which is great because now there's over-the-air updates, which reduces callbacks. Understanding or teaching the customer pretty much how to work their spa, their pool, everything else, and then creating them sometimes a little cheat sheet, a little how-to on their system. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do to reduce callbacks, but ultimately getting us onto their platform is usually the best way to reduce our callbacks.
Jacob, do you? I know some dealers have used the remote monitoring and that handoff in actually as kind of a sales pitch. Do you do that, or is that something like when you're selling a pool that you're talking to them about?
100%. They like the fact that a professional can see stuff real time because, like I said before, and you've said it as well, you can enable certain notifications, and that way we can see everything that's going on. Because ultimately, it saves them time, it saves us time, which is, I feel like, the most valuable. So rather than us going out diagnosing, like, say, a thermistor is bad on a heater, so now we can actually see what the error codes are and bring all the equipment with us to diagnose it on site. It's incredible.
And one more for you, Jacob. Where does automation help you as you try to stand out from your competition and win more work towards your business?
Automation helps us stand out. So we specialize in high-end pools in Phoenix, Arizona. So every single one of our pools gets an IntelliCenter, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's a lot of complexities in swimming pools these days, it seems like, and just backyards in general. So letting the customer know that I have one app to control that can turn on their pergola lights, that can turn on their water features, their fire features. It can turn on bug zappers. We've turned on bug zappers before. It's really comical, and some of the stuff that we can do and control and automate and schedule. But another one for us, which I don't think a lot of people know, is that we work with a lot of high-end home builders that do high-level automation as well for their houses. So it's really nice to know, even though as much as I love the Pentair Home app, these customers and home builders don't want their customers to use that app. They want to use their own, such as Crestron, Control Force, Savant, or Elan. And Pentair and IntelliCenter seamlessly integrates with all of those home automation apps. So there's a higher level to just the IntelliCenter capabilities of just their app. So it's kind of nice that they do a full integration piece with other people's apps, which is a huge sell for us for when dealing with these high-end home builders.
Interesting. I want to talk a little bit about service for a while and get Dustin in here for that perspective on things. Dustin, let me start off by asking you, where does monitoring save you the most time? Is it in dispatching, troubleshooting, parts prep, or customer communications?
I think just having eyes on systems that you've installed is, I mean, overall improves efficiency. I mean, all across the board. We kind of know what's wrong before we're heading there. I mean, it's not that a customer may not notice it as well, but it really is a big win when we get a call from a client, especially after hours, where there's not somebody to send right now. It's 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, but at least what I know is that we can see that this temp sensor is bad. We're going to make sure that the first available technician that gets sent there isn't going to show up and look at that, go in the backyard and tell them, yep, temp sensor is bad. It's like, well, we already knew that. So why, so if we are going to show up with the temp sensor, get it replaced. So those efficiencies for monitoring, I think, is really important. And like Jacob said, I think the clients are, I mean, it should be used not only as a sales tool, but I mean, we really believe in having, we want to have a long list of all of our clients available to myself and all of our primary repair technicians able to log in and take a quick, overview of what it is that's going on at that pool. Scheduling, time through the time change. That's, is an interesting series of calls that we get. A lot of calls about, hey, the electricity bill seems higher than normal. So it's like, we don't have to guess anymore. We're able to just go in. Let's take a look at the schedule. Let's see the exact amount of power that this IntelliFlow 3 is pulling right now. Do some basic calculations, and we can usually very quickly be able to present to the client where they're at for, what efficiencies they're missing out on and that type of stuff. So all of these, I think, are really appealing to a client when selling and, just maintaining. I think we're, probably about 60 to 70% of our residential clients are into IntelliCenter. And I really believe that having it available to myself and my primary techs to monitor is huge.
I would think they'd be blown away by your ability to respond quickly because you're actually seeing it. I would think that's a real leg up on what they probably expect, which is a traditional service response, which is, hey, we'll try to get somebody out there at some point and we'll take a look. I would think that is a real winning maneuver on your part to be able to come through with something like that.
I would agree. I think that's a win every time we get that. And myself, I'm a little bit of an old school person when it comes to automation, and sometimes I think it can be a little overwhelming to me. But just like Jacob said, everything's automated now, so it doesn't really matter where you're at in terms of how comfortable you are in the world of automation. It is the world we are in. If you watch TV, chances are you're watching TV that is, on the internet, and it's just like, even when people are resistant to their controllers being online, if you can just unpack a little bit about how automation impacts them on a daily basis, including their vehicles and things. It's just like it's part of all of our life. So when you kind of make peace with it, you realize there's no reason you should be paying for a pool service and have a automation panel and not have those two connected outside of the 20 minutes a week that they're there, picking the bugs out of the pool. That's the baseline. The extra part of it that we bring to the table is, hey, we're going to keep an eye on that pool as much as we need to make sure you have a good swimming experience. No one wants to have Friday night with the family over trying to use the spa and it not work. Our goal is to try to get ahead of those issues and make sure everybody's having a good swimming experience.
I want to add just something that I heard from a servicer. One of his sales pitches was, my guy's going to be there once a week, and he's going to take care of the cleaning and the things that we can take care of on a service jet on a visit. But my service, my extra service that I'm adding is that I can see your pool 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we're monitoring it even when we're not there. And I think giving the customer that level of I guess confidence in your service really is a kind of a really nice selling point for remote monitoring.
Dustin, I want to put you on the spot here. I want you to think back about before you adopted monitoring into your business and now how it is. If you had to summarize the impact in one sentence of that change when you adopt monitoring, what would you come up with?
I think it's less than a sentence. It's efficiency. I think in our business, especially in my job, I'm looking at averages on jobs. To take it to an operation standpoint, what I can't stand is if we do 100 service calls a week and 13 of those service calls result in no resolution of the problem, or maybe there really was no problem. That's money on the table. Those are not wins. And so when you add monitoring into your business, you see very quickly that number gets better. There's not a full service company in the world that can say they don't have nuisance calls and they don't, send trucks out for nothing. And my goal is to, and we go through this with the team. It's like, if you end up making a trip and you're in someone's backyard and we find that there's not something to fix or to sell, at least take the opportunity to talk with the client or take a couple minutes just to make sure they know who you are and what you're doing and that you do care about their pool. Let's make sure the pool is connecting. Let's make sure that everything's online, all of that kind of stuff. But I have seen over the past couple of years, as we've become heavily into monitoring, how the efficiency of our operation has grown tremendously. And so that's kind of my goal, is to when the call comes in, because they still come in no matter what, even if it's the stupidest, most simple thing, that's what we're here for, and we're supposed to take that call and we're supposed to make sure that, these people are getting what they paid for and they have the best swimming experience that we can give them. So if I'm able to just take a look at that pool remotely and kind of evaluate it in literally 30 seconds or less, I'm opening it up, scrolling through a couple of things, taking a look, I'm going to know so much more about that pool. So I would say efficiency is king for monitoring.
Boy, in all the discussions over all the years that I've been talking about this, I never thought about how it saves you from wasting time when the customer has something wrong, or it just isn't understanding the problem. That information can prevent a wasted trip that, as you say, results in no money and just a loss of effort. That seems like that would be huge.
Yeah, and Scott, I think as long as you have been in the industry, and same thing for Jacob and Dustin, we've we know what the difference in a pump and a filter is and the skimmer, and we take it for granted that sometimes that the customer is kind of going to understand, but oftentimes you're going to get the call that you have to get down to the basics where, okay, the pump is the thing that makes the noise, and the filter is the big round thing. And being able to troubleshoot remotely, like, yeah, it's just, you need to clean your filter. That's it. It's not a it's not your heater. That the heater's not firing. It was just that you need to clean the filter. I think that insight can save some embarrassment for that customer and money. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure you guys have some interesting have to do that explaining quite a bit with customers sometimes.
I've been waiting for this. This is pretty exciting for me. For the first time in history on the Aqua webinar, we're going to have a lightning round. And this is just like you see on TV. We'll be firing off a couple questions and we'll just get some quick answers. Dustin, what's one mistake pros make when adopting automation?
Well, I think a mistake we've probably all run into before when you're trying to sell and get all the way through automation is you need to know the product line before you send the estimate. I'll give you a pretty simple example. Going back to what Rodney went over earlier about two different models, load centers versus power centers. Nothing worse than when you think you have a slam dunk on a client and you show up with an IntelliCenter light ready to stab this thing in on a half-day job and find yourself an old panel full of breakers. You've never seen somebody in my chair get so pissed that we didn't look at this properly. And when the conversation, turns real quickly into, all right, well, we've spent a quarter of the day arguing about who screwed this up. We have to own that it was our fault. And then we have to figure out how to fix the problem without doing it the wrong way, because the client has nothing to do with this. They didn't. They assumed you knew the product line before you sold it. So I guess to sum it up, know the product line, understand the difference. You're still going to get the sale. Be confident about what it is that you're selling, but you just have to know that you are to, you need to understand. That also goes with salt too. So we always kind of talk about you need to look at everything that's needed. Just because there's a failed panel or no panel there and they want a panel, you need to evaluate the options between load center versus power center. Relays needed, salt system or no salt system, and you need to be able to kind of take a step back and slow down and put that bid together properly so you show up that day with the right amount of time and the right amount of product.
Nice. Jacob, go.
All right. So the mistake that I see the pros make the most often, especially when selling IntelliCenters, is that they usually oversize them. So a lot of people are a little uneducated on the lack of relays you actually need. Sorry, Rodney. I know the more relays, the more expensive the panels, but I'm going to try to save the pool guys a little bit money now in the industry that we are now, where rising costs keep happening. But on 99% of our jobs, we only need an i5. I know that there's a lot of i8s, a lot of i10s, and greater, bigger, greater, right? But pumps and teleflows don't need relays. Heaters don't need relays. Even now, the new IntelliVibe lighting system, you can put as many lights as you want to on a system, and you don't need relays. So dumbing that down actually saves the sell cost and also the homeowner a couple of dollars, because it is unfortunate if the homeowner goes online and learns this information, opens their panel up and sees 7 empty breaker slots inside of their panel. That's probably my biggest one, is when I see that. And it's unfortunate, but it's a lot can be done now with just the basic system. It's fantastic.
Back to you, Dustin. What is one habit that reduces callbacks?
I like to, we will obviously have learned this the hard way. So before we are going to show up the day of installing, there is a conversation had with the client about, we need access to your internet. It is still surprising to me how many people are not okay with that and have some type of hang up on giving out network names and passwords and just being open about the internet access. It is not mine. I don't own it. If you want to protect it, that's fine. However, I cannot help you get over the hump of having a remote monitored system if you're not willing to share your internet with me. So when we show up, the guys are there all day, they're hot and sweaty, and they're in the last 30 minutes of what it should be this install, and everything is installed beautifully. But now we are in a disagreement with a homeowner about how we are to get this online. It's really frustrating to everybody. So I think it's a good habit to have a upfront conversation about what we are going to need in regards to access to the internet. And if they understand those expectations, I find that whole process, especially when your tech shows up before tools even come out of the truck, there's a sticky note with Wi-Fi name and password, and they're just open to help you right away. It really, I think, does a lot for the smooth transition into being monitored and getting that controller online.
Advanced communication, always essential. Jacob, what do you think?
I mean, Dustin hit the first one on the head pretty well. I mean, that is a very aggravating step if you go to a customer's house and you can't get internet access to get them online. But my other one as an installer to prevent callbacks is verify all labeled auxiliaries and just test on the panel and in the app. I know that a lot of installers out there like to fly through things, and maybe they might mislabel something, or they might not assign, like, say, an IntelliBrite in the actual light setup, to where if the homeowner just goes on at night, that very first night, and you just touted about how they can change their pool colors, and they just turn it on, it just goes to white, and they have no way to change it. But again, that reverts us back to the very first step is once they're online, you assign them to your own portal. That way you can easily, as an installer, go in through the app and assign it as an IntelliBrite on the back end to reduce the callback. But I just test everything on site is the biggest thing.
Good one. Back to you, Dustin. Last lightning round question. What is one step you should never skip?
Well, when you're talking about testing stuff, Jacob kind of reminded me of one that I think we've seemed to be a pretty high average of this one happening to us. So you should never skip the step of testing every piece of equipment before you tear out old automation and put in new automation. I can't tell you how many lights I've had to buy for people or help them through because that light worked perfect before we started, even though it's halfway full of water or it's fallen halfway out of the wall, but it worked perfect before we put in this brand new, beautiful automation panel that magically fried this light. So that's always, I think, a big mistake we make. We do not evaluate the existing condition of equipment before we add the automation panels and have that conversation of, hey, just so you know, Spotlight doesn't work. That causes other things, as I'm sure you've seen too, is, we're trying to figure out why this GFCI is tripping and why this is happening. Well, it turns out we've got a bad light. It's been bad for 14 years, but nobody ever caught it because it's our first day on the job. So I think that's a mistake that's easily avoidable.
That is a great piece of advice, Dustin. I mean, that can save service companies, builders a whole lot of money. Know what's working before you start the installation. That is awesome.
Jacob, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, a big one for us is enabling the web time and date update with the customer's installation zip code. It automatically adjusts where you are, what time zone, daylight savings, etc. We don't have daylight savings here in Arizona, and everything I believe out of the factory comes from Moorpark, and that's what the default time and everything is. So it's always fun, like if you have something programmed, say it could be like 9 p.m. at our time, and wherever it ended up being default, something turns on at midnight. So it's always good and that's how you can enable proper sunrise and sunset, say your lights go on. But yeah, it's just enabling the web date and time. Once it's all connected, it's a seamless integration. That way there's no issues and errors. And if daylight savings happen, it automatically switches over and you're good to go.
And just so you know, so those guys that are listening, it's under settings and then general. and then you're going to see it right there where you can choose location, and then under that location is where you can set time zone, or you can just enter the zip code.
Do you have an IntelliCenter mounted in your home office?
I absolutely. I've got it. I've got it right here with an arm's reach. Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome.
I'm just going to pull in a question from our audience. We had way too many to answer, and we'll get to those individually. But Rita, I'm going to paraphrase her question. She asks, by giving them this powerful technology, which they may be looking at, like getting on the internet and trying to get ideas there about using that, can they sometimes, monkey it up and, change run times, change other things based on bad information they get from the internet?
I think
go ahead.
yes. But I think they always have been able to. That's a challenge where I think all of us are always going to deal with, and not sure we've ever figured out how to lock clients out of their own pools, and it's not fair to, but I think it's just part of this business.
Yeah. So Rita, one of the things that comes in handy, and I did mention it at the beginning of our conversation today, is when you finish programming an IntelliCenter, go ahead, and I should reach over here and go through it, but go ahead and export that configuration to a thumb drive, put it on the thumb drive, and then you could leave that thumb drive with the customer or leave it in the IntelliCenter. Thumb drives are pretty cheap. Leave it in the IntelliCenter. And then if they do mess things up, you can take that thumb drive and clear the old configuration from the IntelliCenter and import from the thumb drive the old configuration that was working before the customer messed it up. So that is a neat thing that some people forget. It can get you out of a bind if a customer really has messed up the system.
I'm sure you all are seeing our first poll question. Please take a moment to answer that. How confident are you in selling and installing automation for your customers?
Yeah, and I think Jacob, both of them mentioned our Pentair training. Take an opportunity, go to our website, and we do have training opportunities, especially this time of year. I think I was talking to one of my trainers, Carlos Gomez, the other day, and most of that training is just about done, just because of the season is upon us. We kind of slow the training down, but your local rep may be doing trainings, automation training at our local service centers or I guess our warranty warehouses. So we've built those to accommodate training. So that's another opportunity for you.
The training centers are fantastic. We have one here in Arizona, and it's top of the line. It's pretty awesome.
I think Arizona was our first one. I think that's where we kind of piloted that idea.
We got another question here. I think it's really good because I know you guys, as pros in the industry, always have to think in terms of time, like what parts of the job cause you to lose time or take a lot of time, and how you can streamline what you're trying to do. I'll kick this to Jacob. Where do you see pool pros losing the most time, either on installation day or in the first 30 days afterwards?
Installation day is sometimes, it's just not being fully knowledgeable of the install for the most part, where sometimes they'll still put pumps on relays and stuff originally, like where it was installed incorrectly. Realistically, and I'm not just touting Pentair's horn on this, They did a really good job to make things easy. They even have a wizard to walk you through on how to install an IntelliCenter, which is incredible for a new user. I know, I think the first time that I even tried it, I just did the wizard to walk you through everything you need to do just to get the basics out of the way. And it's really straightforward. But other than that, generally, like we just said, take up the trainings, figure out how to properly wire the systems, and then that'll help you. It's a path for success.
I'm going to kick this one to Dustin. We have a question. What's one setup slash handoff step that you have just standardized as part of your procedure that cuts confusion later? That's sort of a complicated one.
Well, yeah. Okay, I'll give you two notes on handoff and follow up. One is, I know this seems pretty simple, but I can't tell you how many times we've dealt with this and how frustrating this is. Communicate your expected, and remember, I'm on the aftermarket side. So when I'm installing a project, there's already a pool there. It's been there for a long time, and we're changing it out. So it's not a big day for the homeowner usually. It's just a regular day. So ask the homeowner if they're going to be home when you're done with your installation, because there's nothing more frustrating than putting in a full day and having a perfect installation and then having no homeowner at home or available to do a handoff with, and now it turns into a second visit, which, by the way, if it wasn't scheduled for, you may not have availability for another day or two if you're a busy service company. So upfront communication about what your expected timeline is on the installation and establishing the expectation that you need to be there for the handoff. If the answer is, hey, Tuesday's great for the install, I'm not going to be there, but go ahead, the gate's unlocked, the answer really should be, that's not acceptable, because I don't want to do an installation and have it sit unhanded off, if you will, for 2, 3, 4 days, because from a business owner standpoint, that also means there's no check available. So let's think about it from that standpoint. A handoff usually means this customer is satisfied, they like what they've got, and they're going to pay you for it. So I think it's important to communicate up front what you can expect for your timeline, and just kind of, iron that out. I also will say, to piggyback on that, some advice for other service pros that are doing installation. When you're working out, however you work out your pricing to install installations, think about, there's always a follow-up service visit. If you don't have a follow-up service visit, you're very lucky. And I was a very low maintenance customer, but the fact of the matter is they made a big investment in upgrading their pool. It is unlikely that they will have a full understanding of how it works after a 10, 15-minute walkthrough. So if you just work yourself a 1-hour follow-up service visit into your upfront cost of the installation, there's a lot less frustration and resentment that comes along with having to come back a day or two later to do another walkthrough on that. So we've learned that over the years that I like to just tuck that into the price, because it's just good business practice and overall good for everybody to show up a second time and just kind of make sure everything's going well.
Great. I think I've learned more in the last 50 minutes than I have in the last 2 weeks. This has really been good. Rodney, can you kind of pull this together for us and give us some takeaways that people can take with them after the webinar?
I invite you all to go to our training. Also, our website, Pentair.com, has some resources there for training that we're offering that you should take advantage of. I think I heard today that the handoff for a new pool owner is really important, and there's going to be some questions. And I think it's just the remote monitoring piece, I think, builds some efficiency in how the pool is hand off and that customer experience that they're getting through that. And I think if there was one takeaway that was like, man, I never even thought about, was Dustin's comment on testing the equipment before you pull out an automation system. I thought that was awesome. And it can prevent you from getting in a pinch and having to replace a piece of equipment that was broken before you even started. So, I love that. I I do want to say that just when it comes to replacing equipment, we do have a rebate going on right now, and it's up on the screen right now. As a matter of fact, the trade up cash in rebate, and it's up to $400 per product. So I think our Master Temp 400 um, has a $400 rebate, and that is a rebate. Some of these go and check out the terms and conditions. Some of these are bounty programs, some of them are rebates. This is last up until May 31st, and you've got to have your submissions within 60 days of uh, purchase. So $100 on IntelliFlow 3 bounty program, $100 on select filters. So take advantage of that. Full details are at pentair.com/hot deals. So take advantage of that. And I will, a little plug, uh, the conversation doesn't stop here. And I do want to thank Dustin and Jacob for attending today and giving us some great insight. In April, we will host a live expert roundtable focused on the future of pool automation with another open Q&A. I will be joined by Adam Key and Donald Starnes, and we'll go deeper on where automation is headed and what it can mean for your business. So join us for that, and I guess it's a little bit more than a month from now. So
No, it sounds good. I'm writing down headlines for stories. I love that. Test it before you automate it, and you can save yourself a lot of wasted time if you know everything up front from a screen that's just right in front of you. I see some real possibilities there. But I think that's all. Oh, we got one more poll question. If you could take a moment to fill that out, just take a second to answer that question. I'll give you a few seconds here.
And the question is, would you like a Pentair representative, I think, so was that it?
Yeah.
To contact you. And we do have a good sales force right now and support. We are doing some transition right now as far as our network of support people. So do reach out if you don't know who to call with issues. Call your rep, and they can assist you to make sure that you're getting the help you need. And I want to say thanks, Scott, for doing this. I greatly appreciate it. I always enjoy working with you.
Same, Rodney. Let's get together on another story one of these days. I missed the last time we did that, but I think that's all we've got time for today. And I want to thank everyone in the audience, but especially you three, Jacob, Rodney, and Dustin. I think I learned more in this webinar than I have in any other ones that we've ever done. And don't forget the expert roundtable next month. And with that, I think we'll wind it up. The webinar is over, and we can all get back to work.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Sell some automation.
Yes.